Hey guys, this is a quick vlog about the Rose Arts Centre. Hi guys, this is a quick vlog about the recent plans to rename the Rose Arts Centre here because it's named after. You can see here the sign behind me is with this thing that they've tried to rip off. That's very nice. Yeah. Essentially, they're trying to remove the Rhodes name from here because apparently it's offensive. And recently, I discovered this in the local newspaper about how it should be removed because following the whole Black Lives Matter events in London and elsewhere, and all the topplings of the statues from various people like Edward Colston, and the vandalisation of the cenotaph and Winston Churchill statue and so on. There's been quite a big push by many on the left, albeit some on the right as well, to remove names and monuments in order to appease, I don't know who, of radical leftists apparently, who want a mass culture revolution. Let's hope they don't succeed. And yeah, as we can see here, yeah, this is one example because it's named after the famous British imperialist Cecil Rhodes. Now, undoubtedly, Cecil Rhodes, for all his faults, was a very interesting historical and complex character. Indeed, he was. Yeah, he had views that were pretty much more sensible today, especially on race, but he also did a lot of good things. A lot of the infrastructure that South Africa and its neighbours, like in Zambia, I think it's Zambia, and Zimbabwe, which is formerly Southern Rhodesia, the stuff they managed to gain from his colonisation of the area wasn't necessarily a bad thing, at least I hope not. Hopefully the cars in the background aren't too loud. And he also defended many things that we would consider good now, like he defended the rights of black people to vote back in the late 19th century when such a thing was considered taboo. And he also, developed the regional economy to great effect. And also, he was a big philanthropist. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He gave a lot of money, so that's why, the Oxford College has a statue of him, which they're trying to remove, which is also wrong, but I digress. And they also have this, which is the Rhodes Arts Centre, which, for all its faults, it's been part of Bishop Stortford, which is very interesting. And the Bishop Stortford Independent calls Cecil Rhodes Bishop Stortford's most infamous son or something like that, which is quite amusing. I'm not sure who else will be that controversial, but yeah, Cecil Rhodes wasn't all bad, and I think we should consider that when we decide to rename and stuff like that. I do think there is a bit of a sinister agenda of a Maoist cultural revolution playing out here that if we're not careful with, we're going to let spiral out of control, and quite frankly I don't think where that's going to lead is going to be particularly nice, and especially if Rhodes, good old Cecil Rhodes in his picture here, if he must go, then who's next? May I ask you? I mean, for example, there's, speaking of South Africa, there's a statue of Nelson Mandela currently in Parliament Square. A guy of who, when he was a lot younger, was involved in the terrorist wing, or the armed wing rather, of the ANC, which did a lot of horrible things, including what his wife got to with necklacing, which I'm not sure that's particularly nice either, especially some of the horrific accounts involving that. But the difference is I could accept that Nelson Mandela also had his good side. He became a changed man once leaving Robert Island, and he was one of Ian Smith, Rhodesia's former Prime Minister, funnily enough, the last one, called him Africa's first statesman, as in like he was an actual person who cared about his future kin and next generation. Unlike, say, people like Rob Mugabe and so on, who just cared about themselves and making themselves rich at the expense of their lefty mates. And there also, we can say Nelson Mandela had a really good side, and that's what defined him, as we should do. Why is that privilege not applied to Cecil Rhodes, who did a lot of good, and he wasn't the most reprehensible character of his age, let's be honest. I mean, especially in the 19th century when you had people like Napoleon, who wanted to keep slavery and, butchered huge chunks of Europe in order to maintain an empire. And then we also have people like, in London, people like Oliver Cromwell, who massacred many Irish people. Should his statue remain up? I think so, because history is important. Or more redeemable people, like Bobby Sands, the convicted IRA terrorist who's most epitomised as a martyr now, which is quite humorous, in the films Hunger and so on. He has a mural in Northern Ireland, should that be taken down? Because I think he was a lot more irredeemable than this guy. And and I think if we start rewriting history, I don't think it's going to end very well. As the famous saying goes, those who, do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. And I think this cultural revolution should be stopped dead in its tracks, and this will hopefully be a good start. And to finish off, I'll leave you with this great clip of Nigel Burt Beggar, I think his name is, a professor at Oxford University who has, balls the size of China to defend this sort of stuff. So Rhodes must stay, and I've written a petition, signed the link below, and yeah, just thank you for watching, and Rhodes must stay.
Last year, the shine on Mahatma Gandhi's halo came off when we learned of his views that Indians were culturally superior to black Africans. Does that mean we should forget his remarkable achievements? I don't think so. Second, claims that Rhodes was South Africa's Hitler and carried out genocide lack any historical foundation. Third, Rhodes was not racist. He didn't hold black Africans in general contempt. He did not view them as biologically inferior and incapable of cultural development. In 1899, he defended the right of blacks to vote. He stipulated that his scholarships be awarded regardless of race, and the first Rhodes Scholarship was awarded to an African American within 5 years of his death. Fourth, while often ruthless in his choice of means, Rhodes was a prodigious entrepreneur who used his wealth for public purposes. Unlike some of South Africa's current rulers, he didn't use it to feather his own nest. Rather, to develop the region's economy and to build a worldwide community of public leaders through his scholarship legacy. Fifth, if Rhodes must fall, so must Churchill, whose views on empire and race were much the same. And so probably must Abraham Lincoln. While Lincoln liberated African American slaves, he doubted they could be integrated into a white society and favored their separate development, their segregation, or apartheid, if you will, in an African colony. Finally, in 2010, the ANC government in KwaZulu-Natal, in South Africa, named a new airport after King Shaka. Shaka was responsible for forging a highly militaristic Zulu empire in the early 1800s, for waging terroristic and genocidal wars, not least in 1826, and for a share of the deaths of between 1 and 2 million black Africans. If Shaka gets to stand in Durban, Rhodes, whose sins pale by comparison, should be left standing in Oxford.